Hello, it is Rachel, and welcome to episode 315 of Your Parenting Long Game. As I'm recording this, it's early-ish in the summer, and parents that I work with are starting to say, it's really nice to be more relaxed during the summertime, but my kids are starting to argue with us and argue with each other about screens. This is starting to become an issue where they want to be on their screens all the time, they want to be on their devices all the time, and it's creating some problems in our home. And I want to tell you, because it is still early-ish in the summer, it is better to get ahead of screen time issues than to try to deal with them when they really become a bigger problem. Once kids are in yuck, once there's yuck around a situation, it's harder to get out of it. It's not impossible, but it takes more energy. So I want to give you some suggestions for how to address the screen time issues now so that the summer does not go downhill. And obviously, these are also strategies that you can use anytime, but they're especially helpful during the summer when there's a lot less structure. And what usually happens with parents and with kids during the summers, we say, oh, okay, it's summer, so we want to be relaxed about our rules and our boundaries, especially because the school year is especially hard with so many things going on and there's so much structure, and it can be really a nice break to stop worrying so much about those rules and enforcing when our kids have to do things. But what happens when there isn't structure and when we are more lax with limits and boundaries is that kids start being on screens more because they're longer days and there's less to do. And very honestly, probably you've suggested that your kids do other things off of their screens and they've been resistant. And you probably don't have the time or energy to keep them entertained. So it becomes a little bit easier to just let them be on their screens. It's easier than coming up with things or trying to entertain them. It's easier than fighting. And you don't really want your summer to be filled with fighting. So you just let them be on screens more. But then things start to go downhill because you're noticing again that your kids are on their devices more and more. And when you want them to get off, there are more and more fights and power struggles. And you give them warnings. You say, okay, you're going to have to get off in 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 5 minutes. But it seems that there's still issues and still big emotions when you ask them to get off of their device, even with the warnings. When they do also get off of their devices, they complain that they're bored and there's nothing to do. And they're fighting more with their siblings or other people that are around. And there's a reason that things tend to go downhill. The truth is that when we have less structure and our kids are on their devices more, which is what they want, it actually creates more yuck. In fact, in general, giving kids more of what they want creates more yuck. And here's why that is the case. First of all, when a child is getting what they want for a short period of time, they expect to continue to get what they want. Our brains use the past to expect things in the future. So if in the past they've gotten what they want, they're predicting that they're going to get more of what they want, being on screens when they want to be in the future. So they get frustrated when they can't be on screens. As soon as you tell them to stop, they get frustrated because they didn't know that they were going to have to get off. They want to stay on and they get more frustrated. And very similar to this, when they have really good feelings from being on their devices, and we're going to talk in a minute about why these feelings are so good, but when they have these really good feelings, and then we ask them to get off of their device, it's like we're taking those good feelings away, and that creates a lot of yuck. If they've been on screens a lot and then we ask them to get off, they become more resentful. They become more resentful because they can't get that good feeling. And they also become more resentful of us because we are the one that is taking away that good feeling. So again, lots of yuck, and lots of that yuck is going to be aimed toward us because we seem to be the one causing the problem and not giving them what they want. So as I mentioned, giving kids what they want can lead to more yuck. What we need to do instead is give kids what they need when it comes to screens. And honestly, what they need when it comes to screens is what they need in general. And it is what makes up the long game method. So there are 3 things that kids need in order to behave and feel better. They need you to be a powerful, positive influence. They need the skills to do what you ask, especially when it's something hard like getting off of their device. And their yuck needs to be addressed. Now, I'm going to go deeper into you as a powerful, positive influence when it comes to screens and how to increase their skills and reduce their yuck when it comes to screens. And there's going to be quite a bit of information here. So just so you know, there is a handout that goes with this episode that summarizes what I'm about to tell you about your influence, their skills, and their yuck. So if you're interested in that summary, you can find it on my show notes at rachel-bailey.com/315. But let me go a little bit deeper into each of those areas. So when it comes to screens, you do need to be a powerful, positive influence. I've done a lot of episodes lately on the importance of being an influence, on how we actually leak influence. And when it comes to screens, just like everything else, you do need to build your influence. So what does that mean exactly when it comes to your kids and their devices? Two things. Number one, in order to be a powerful, positive influence, you need to create structure and predictability. And number two, you have to be a powerful, positive influence in how you enforce that structure and predictability. That means when you are enforcing limits and boundaries, you are confident and you are connected. So again, the two things you need to do to be a powerful, positive influence are create structure and predictability and enforce that structure by being confident and connected. So when it comes to structure and predictability, you want them to know when they can be on screens and when they can't. And you want it to be as consistent as possible. Now, consistent may mean that it's the same time every day, or consistent may simply mean that you tell them maybe the night before or the day before when they can be on screens the next day, and then you follow through. In each of those instances, you're being predictable because you're either using a routine to be predictable or you are predictable because you've told them one thing and you followed through. So screens need to have a routine or they need to have some predictability. Now, I will tell you that especially during the summer, it can be easier to create screen off time than screen on time. So you might say something like on Mondays, for example, there are no screens between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. I'm just making up those times, obviously, but you really want them to know with a routine or with a previous notification when they can be on screens. It makes it so much easier because then you are not the bad guy. The routine is the bad guy, or what you said was going to happen ahead of time is the bad guy. Now, this reduces their yuck and makes you more of an influence because they know it's going to happen and it doesn't seem like you are just taking away their screens at random, willy-nilly when you feel like it. Now, when you are enforcing those boundaries and those limits and following through with what you said, it is important that you enforce everything with both confidence and connection. Because here's the thing, you know this already, they're not going to be happy because you're not giving them what they want, you're giving them what they need. They're not going to be happy about this. There's going to be resistance. And handling resistance as a powerful positive influence means that you are confident you are doing the right thing so you can stay regulated even when they're upset. And you can also stay connected to them. So you care about how your limit or boundary affects them. So when they have resistance, you don't get mad at them for being resistant. You expect that it's going to happen. You stay confident and grounded in yourself, and you know how to handle their emotions while still caring about their emotions. So I do talk more about how to be this confident, connected, powerful, positive influence in previous episodes, and I will link to them on the show notes as well. So again, being a powerful, positive influence is the first piece of what kids need when it comes to screens. The second part they need are skills. They need skills to transition off of the devices when they have to get off, and they need skills to be able to handle it when they are off of devices and they are inevitably bored. So again, two skills they need. They need skills to disengage from the thing that feels good, and they need skills to know how to do something when everything else seems boring. So let me just talk about that disengagement for a moment. It's really important to understand, and this will help you hopefully with their resistance, but to understand that disengaging from something that feels good is very, very difficult. The example I always give is, imagine you are writing an email to someone and you're in the middle of writing this email and you know what you're going to say, you're in the zone, and someone comes up to you and tries to interrupt you. They say, "Hey mom," or "Hey dad," and they interrupt your thought. You get very frustrated because once our brains are engaged in something, it's very hard for the brain to disengage. We can help our kids disengage by giving them strategies, and we need to give them these strategies in order for them to disengage with less yuck. We also need to teach them when they are off of their devices how to be creative and being bored. Because here's the thing, the activity your child is doing on their device, it does feel really, really good. And when they get off, other things may not feel that good. We have to teach them what to do when other things are not stimulating their brain in the same way that their device does. Now, I teach something called variations in order to help kids when they get off screens find things to do. This is where they take something they're already interested in and they create variations of that activity that can engage them while they're off of their devices. I've also talked about how to do that in previous episodes. But the key here is when you are a powerful, positive influence, that's the first thing they need, and they have strategies to disengage and then entertain themselves when they are off of devices, things are going to go much better. Now, the last piece of this, besides being a powerful positive influence and giving them skills and strategies, is to address their yuck. Now, I just mentioned the physiological yuck that may occur when they have to get off of their devices because initially they're going to feel understimulated. Their brain is not getting as much stimulation as they got when they were on their screens. So you can address that by teaching them how to create stimulation and engagement. But there's another type of yuck we need to address, and that is emotional yuck. And the truth is that kids are more drawn to their devices when they have emotional yuck in general. And many kids do have a lot of emotional yuck. This yuck comes from feeling like they're not seen or heard. This yuck comes from feeling like they're not good enough, they're not capable. This yuck comes from feeling powerless. And this often happens because there are withdrawals in life. We withdraw, we make them feel not seen and heard, we make them feel less capable and less powerful. But there are other areas of life where this is happening as well. And here's the thing that you need to know. The thing that they're doing on their device, it is probably giving them some of those feelings. Especially when they're playing video games. They are feeling important in their video games. They're usually winning and doing really well in their video games. They're feeling powerful. They're feeling capable. So when the video games or whatever they're doing on their screens give them all of those deposits, of course they're going to be drawn to the video games or whatever they're doing on their devices. So what we want to do is help them find a way to get those feelings when they're not on their devices. There are ways we can help them feel seen and heard and capable and powerful. And there are ways they can learn to do this for themselves as well. And they need to be getting those feelings off of screens if we want to make it easier for them to get off of their screens. Because when they feel good in life, when their needs are met off of screens, then it's not that upsetting for them to get off of their devices. But if it's only in their online world where they feel good, where their emotional needs are met, they're wired to want to be there more. And you're going to see a lot more resistance, and they're going to experience a lot more internal resistance as well. So again, the three things that kids need if you want to reduce the drama in your home related to screens, they need us to be a powerful positive influence. They need us to create predictability with when they can and can't be on screens. And they need us to respond with confidence and connection when they inevitably have a reaction. They also need strategies to help them get off of their device and stay off of their device, and that will actually reduce the drama that we have to deal with to begin with. And lastly, we need to help them find ways to get those emotional needs met so they don't turn to their screens to fulfill the needs there. So I'd encourage you to think about this for your situation. Is screen time predictable in your home, either through a routine or at least you telling them the day before so they know what to expect? Do you handle their inevitable resistance with confidence, not doubting yourself or fearing their emotions? Do you handle their resistance with connection, caring about how the limits affect them? Then consider, do they know how to disengage from their screens? Do they have strategies to make it easier for them to transition off? Do they know how to entertain themselves when they're off of their screens? And are they getting their needs met on screens, their needs for significance and capability and power? If your answer to any of these questions is no, this is what's causing the drama. And as I said, I have a handout. That lists these questions and the things that are needed to reduce the drama, but everything is unique to each family. There are reasons you may not be a powerful positive influence, and there are reasons that your child may be stuck on screens. And I can help you figure out what those unique reasons are. And I'm actually going to offer a free conversation that I will have with you to talk about what's causing the drama in your home as it relates to screens, where you may be losing influence in helping your child get off more easily, and where your child may be missing skills or may have some yuck that is contributing to the drama. So you can find the free resource, which is a summary of this episode, and you can find how to have that conversation with me, directions for that, on the show notes for this episode at rachel-bailey.com/315. Because I don't want you to deal with the doubt and powerlessness that you are experiencing when it comes to the drama related to screens. And I also don't want your children to get in trouble for things that honestly they need the skills in order to do better with. They do have a hard time getting off of screens and need help. Sometimes the way the situation is set up is setting them up for failure. And if we don't see it that way, if we don't help them do better, their self-esteem, your influence, and your relationship may suffer. But on the other hand, when you address what you need to become a powerful positive influence and what they need, the truth is that they do get off of screens more easily. Maybe not without a little bit of grumbling, but they do get off of their devices. And they go do something else because they know they have to, because you've been predictable, and they know how to get off of their screens without feeling that internal resistance as well. All of this brings more lightness and ease to you, to your child, and to your home. That is long game parenting. Again, I would love to help you get there. Again, I would love to help you get to that place of lightness and ease. Find information about how to get there on the show notes for this episode at rachel-bailey.com/315. And as usual, if you enjoy the podcast, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review. That allows me to keep coming back to you with these tips that bring less drama to your home and also reach other parents who want that lightness and ease in their homes as well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again soon.